Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to do another Scottish beer, and this is one that I actually didn't know you could still get. It is from quite a well known brewery, which is of course the Orkney Brewery from Mek-ju and the Orkney Islands in the north of Scotland. But this beer is a member of the Atlas range. This one is the Three Sisters, which is a traditional Scottish 80 shilling beer. Now the story behind the Atlas range is that essentially the Atlas Brewery was an independent brewery and it then merged with the Orkney Brewery, and then these beers, the Atlas beers, became known as the Atlas range of the Orkney Brewery. But I hadn't seen these for a very long time, and I went into my local Waitrose the other day and found this one, so I thought I have to review this in case I don't see it again for a very long time. But it should be a very nice beer for us to taste. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery. It will be more focused on the Atlas Brewery, but if you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery website's in the video description for you below, along with a link to my other reviews that I will do from Atlas in the near future, and I'll also put a link down there to my other Orkney Brewery reviews too. So anyway, the Atlas Brewery was founded in Kinlochleven, which I believe is quite close to Fort William in the Highlands, and this was founded back in 2002 by Neil Cotton, and it merged with the Orkney Brewery in 2004, and then the collective company was renamed the Highlands and Islands Brewery Limited. So Neil Cotton actually served as managing director of this new Highlands and Islands brewery for a period of time after the merger, and Roger White from the Orkney Brewery originally served as the chairman of this new venture too. So both quite prominent members of the two breweries were serving in this new company, which was quite cool. But the pair drove a series of quite important changes at the Orkney Brewery, but later the company was purchased by Sinclair Breweries in 2006, which was headed of course by Norman Sinclair, who's quite a well-known Highland hotelier in Scotland. But the brewing operations were moved to Coilu on the Orkney Islands, and the Atlas beers became known at this point as the Atlas range of the Orkney Brewery. And of course this was when the brewery in Kinlochleven was shut down, but now incidentally it's occupied by Riverleven Ales, and I've tried one of their beers for you before on the channel and it was really good, so they're worth checking out as well. But this is the very first time I'm actually trying a beer from the Atlas range, so I'm quite interested in it. But they do a couple of other beers in the Atlas range too. So you have the Latitude, which is kind of lager, sort of Pilsner style beer. You have the Three Sisters, of course, which is a Scottish 80 shilling. Wayfarer, which is described as being a pale ale. Nimbus, which I think is more of a golden ale. And there's also the Golden Amber, which is an amber ale. So anyway, that's your kind of brief history of the Atlas Brewery and their kind of history relating to the Orkney Brewery too. So without further ado, let's actually get on to the tasting of this guy. So I'll just bring the camera up and let you have a little look at the artwork on this one. It's quite simple compared to the Orkney Brewery ones. It's quite a simple design. I'm not sure if this is actually the original Atlas artwork that was on the beers, but I'm really not sure about that. But it's quite cool that Orkney did keep on the Atlas range, because obviously they could just have changed them into Orkney beers, but it's cool that they still recognise the old brewery history. But it's quite simply presented, but it works quite nicely. It says on the back, Three Sisters is a Scottish ale. We use gently roasted barley to give Three Sisters its deep ruby colour and delicate toasted flavour. This Scottish style 80 shilling ale has a light fruitiness with a crisp aftertaste, and it tells you a little bit about the other beers in the range too. So it says brewed in Scotland, the Orkney Brewery, Coilu, Stromness, Orkney, Scotland. But yeah, it looks very, very nice. It's 4.2% on the Richter scale, and of course it tells you don't drink this beer if you're pregnant, but that's not a worry for me, I hope. But anyway, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. Quite looking forward to this one. Yeah, so as you can see, a nice smoky opening here as we get it out. You can smell the kind of nice dark roasted caramel coming off this one just as you pour it, and that's without even paying too much attention. There's a little bit of the fruity ester coming out of the beer too, so should be a very nice one for us, like I say. So as you can see, it's poured a nice kind of dark ruby, quite mahogany colour actually. If I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see that it is quite transparent. There's about a third of a finger of a frothy kind of slightly off-white kind of creamy coloured head, I would say, but the beer looks very, very nice actually. Transparent, nice kind of big bubbles of carbonation sticking towards the side of the glass, but a lot of little bubbles moving up towards the bottom of the head there. Actually, it's actually one of the kind of nicest red coloured beers I've seen actually. I'm surprised at just how red it is. I'm not sure how well you can see that, so I'll just put the light over it there and you can see that nice dark ruby colour quite well. So yeah, let's give this guy a smell and see how we get on here. You can smell the cereal character in this quite prominently actually. And smell, you'll always find that with some of the Scottish beers. These kind of 80-shilling beers are quite strong on their sort of cereally character. That's the oats that are coming out of this one, the nice oaty notes. But on top of that, you've got a nice kind of big malty caramel aroma in there. There's a good bit of toasted bready character to it. It's almost like a kind of toasted rye bread, I think, that's coming out of this one. But that may well just be the oaty notes coming out of it. But you can pick up a nice little bit of sweet chocolate in there too, and maybe a little bit of nutty character, but it's a big bready one with a good little bit of caramel in there and some kind of chocolatey sweetness too. But if you sugar it up a little bit more, you can get just a little bit of the kind of fruity esters, the sort of figs and raisins and plums, but it is more of a sort of figgy note that comes out of this one. It's more of that kind of smooth figgy note rather than being a sharper sort of plum aroma. But it smells very, very nice. So without further ado, let's give this guy a taste. But as I always say, do pay attention to the aromas of your beers, because it can be quite interesting. And if you know the hop base and things that goes into these, you can pick up little elements of the taste. But without further ado, this is the Three Sisters, which is actually named after a mountain range at Glencoe in Scotland. So Slangia. It's quite nice actually. I've not tried many 80-shilling beers. I always tend to go for the big fruity hoppy American beers, but this is actually quite nice. It's a nice big bready beer, but it's got a little bit of darker roasted caramel and things in it. And as you'll know, when I lived in Germany, I really loved the big bready Munich Helles beers, and these kind of Scottish versions are very different from that, but at the same time it does have a fairly similar feel to it. But yeah, much like you would get the idea from the aroma, there is a big bready malt base to this one. You've got this nice kind of rye bread blanket that just goes and covers the middle of your palate there. It's really nicely done. There's maybe a little bit of a kind of nutty flavour in there. You can pick up just a little faint hint of chocolate, but I want to say that it's more of a kind of bready mouthfeel that you get off this one. It's really nicely done. It's a very smooth and very kind of easy drinking beer. I do get the impression if you had this one on cask, you would get a little bit more of the caramel out. You do get a wee bit of this kind of caramel sweetness that just goes right down the middle of the tongue there. And it's perhaps a more of a kind of grainy or biscuity kind of caramel sweetness that you're getting out of it. But yeah, there is a little bit of chocolate there just mixing in with the kind of bready flavours there, but it is quite an oaty and quite a cereally bread character you're getting off this, almost like a rye bread in fact. And there's a definite little element of a nutty flavour in there, so it's quite an interesting blend of flavours, the malt base on this one. Around the edges of the tongue actually, there is just a little bit of a kind of earthy hop character, I would say, particularly if you move forward on the sides of the tongue. It is quite an earthy hop character you're picking up. Maybe it's Fuggles hops that's been used in this one, or Kent Goldings or something like that. I'm not sure, but it does have that kind of characteristic sort of earthy hop character, this one. But yeah, interesting flavours coming out of this. If you go right around the front arch of the tongue as well, you're getting a bit more of the fruity esters, and like I was saying with the aroma, it is actually more of a kind of figgy flavour that comes out of this one. It's an interesting beer. A lot of the flavours in this are quite mild, if that makes sense. There's nothing trying to punch its way out at you, but the most prominent component of the beer really is the kind of cereally rye bready character, and the oaty flavours are coming out. It's almost like a roasted oat character actually that comes out, and it is very nice. That's kind of what you expect from a traditional 80-shilling Scotch ale, is a little bit of a big bready malt base, perhaps a little bit of darker caramel and things like that, and some kind of fruity esters too. A lot of the American versions of this beer kind of overplay the caramel and the chocolate and the fruits. It almost tastes like it's a candied fruit, but you want a more lighter estery fruit out of this traditional Scottish style of beer, I would say. But yeah, it's very nice and very smooth. I would be interested to try it on cask and just make the comparison, because I do think you would get a little bit more caramel out of it. But overall, the flavours are very nice. It blends together really well, in fact. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say it's mid-bodied. The carbonation is very soft and very smooth, and it does have a nice oily, slightly oily mouthfeel to it, and that helps bring out just a little touch of the fruity esters, I would say. But it's got a nice big bready malt base on it, this one. There is a little bit of sweetness from just a little bit of caramel there, and you do get a wee bit of dryness in the aftertaste from the kind of cereal bitterness, but around the edges of the tongue you're getting a little bit of a hoppy, a kind of earthy hop character, and just a little bit of juicy fruit, particularly on the front of the tongue. So overall, it's a very nice beer. I'm not sure how much this would cater to American tastes when it comes to a Scotch ale. In fact, this is more of a traditional one rather than the kind of Americanised version, I would say. But I think it's quite a nice beer, and I would really be interested to try it on cask. So what I would say is, if you want quite a traditional Scottish 80 shilling style beer, then this is quite a good one to go for, actually. If you like your big bready beers as well, then this is another good one that you would like to try. If you like the Munich Helles style of beer, and you'd perhaps like to try something that has the same feel but is at the same time a very different style, then it is good to go for as well. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. It's been cool to review my first one from the Atlas range. A nice big bready beer, a little bit of earthy hop character and some nice fruitiness as well. Very nicely done, some nice cereally bready character, and I love that style of beer. But anyway, please let me know in the comments section your own thoughts on this beer. It's always interesting to read them if you do happen to have tried it. And in the meantime, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope we'll catch you soon with some more beer reviews, and hopefully I can do more from the Atlas range soon. Slàinte.